Hi, my name's Jason Bonham, and I will be coming to Australia, down under, for the second time in my life, to come and play and bring you the music of Led Zeppelin with my own Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin evening. The dates will be announced tomorrow, or I can tell you this. We'll be going to Perth. We are going to Brisbane. We are going to Adelaide. We are going to Sydney. And we are going to Melbourne. So, everybody, if you love Led Zeppelin and you have nothing to do around the beginning of April, believe it, starting around the 6th, come and check out the show. Go to the bathroom beforehand, because for 2.5 hours you will not want to leave the theatre.
Wow.
Come and check us out, and you'll have a lot of fun.
Wow, that sounds absolutely fantastic, Jason. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, as you mentioned, mate, the great news is that Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin evening will return to Australia and New Zealand for a run of shows in April, bro. So, I know it's stating the obvious, but are you excited to be coming back?
I am obviously very excited. We had planned to come back sooner, but a little thing called COVID stopped the original set of dates. So I'm just really, really pleased. I mean, I'm just pleased to be back playing live again. You know, nobody knew what was going to happen at one point, so they're glad that we all got back to be playing. I don't think we're through it all yet, but everyone's back. All seem to be performing and enjoying getting back out. I think there's a new love that we appreciate it so much more, because at one point, when it was taken away, you didn't realise it when it was coming back. So we all really absolutely adore playing, and the fact that we get to go and play in such wonderful places around the world, and for me, it's an honour to bring my father's music in a live setting and some personal stories and get to know the fans a lot more. As I didn't get to come there; they only ever got there once. So I love to carry the torch and present to my father.
That's beautiful, mate. So, for those that are unfamiliar with the show, can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, so it started off 13 years ago as one of those things that I said I would do once to pay homage to my father in about 30 shows. I said, I'll do 30 shows and we'll do this. And we had some video wall and some old home footage. And I'd tell a few stories. And then I realised it wasn't so much just about what I thought of Led Zeppelin. Everybody shared with me through social media or even at the concerts how much the Zeppelin meant to them. And it was mind-blowing, very emotional. I'd never really gone into it in that depth before. So it was an eye-opener for me to do that. It was a way for me to still, after playing with them and everything we did in 2007 when it all stopped, it was still kind of an open wound for me that still hadn't healed. So I wanted, in some ways I wanted to address it, but at the same time I wanted to leave it open. But it was the best way I could ever think of, just to go on there, perform the music from my heart, tell a few stories, what it was like, with the old man, growing up with Dad, at home, it was just Dad, I didn't know the Bonzo side of him too well. So it really just grew from that. And the next thing you know, we were 7 years in, playing in front of 16,000 people, doing certain summer festival shows, and I was like, I never imagined in my wildest dreams something I started purely as a fun, as a way of expressing and playing Led Zeppelin music with some friends, to suddenly take a whole energy and a life of itself. So, as I said, we've been doing this 13 years now, and it doesn't get old. It still feels as fresh as the day we first did it. And that's the secret. We don't overplay it. We don't try and do 100 shows a year. If we do 35 shows a year, that's all. That's all we want to do.
The band is renowned the world over for its authentic sound, from the vocal parts through the instrumentals, mate. So would you say that you're a perfectionist when it comes to that?
I think I'm a little bit more a pain. They might say a little bit more pain in the backside to them, only because it's for me. I take it. I don't know if I take it more seriously. It's my dad's music, so I feel an honour. It's the pressure of doing it. I find it has to be right. So I am a little bit. I can get a little in their face if I don't feel they're doing their part, but I don't have to. They have never let me down. The only thing that I get frustrated with sometimes is if I want to try a different song, and James might not be, the singer might not be he might not be as comfortable as he wants to be with it. So he's the one that goes, oh, can we just run it first in the sound check? And I'm like, oh, okay. But, that's the only thing every now and again that they might have to delay a song for one night. But that's because I like to try things on the cuff, on the night. Even though it's not on the set list, you never know, it might be in there. So.
That's good. So is everything, is it all faithfully recreated, or do you add sort of touches of your own musical personas in there?
For me, I think what we based the arrangements on is my favorite versions of the different Led Zeppelin songs. Some of them are more studio, definitely crafted after the studio copies. Some of them more like the 73 Song Remains the Same versions from the movie, when especially like songs like Since I've Been Loving You, Song Remains the Same, No Quarter, Phasing Abused. I love the arrangements from 73, and that we have that wonderful footage that from the movie, which is so carved in everyone's mindset, and those arrangements. So they were always a strong part of it for me. And then obviously getting to play with them and having a Grammy from my performance with Led Zeppelin is mind blowing. So to get to do a version where it's me on drums from the Kashmir, from that show, or Good Times, Bad Times, purely it's more of the, I like to say is, but I was being influenced by my father doing that show from another version, another gig, 71 or 73 or a 79 Caspian. So it all reverts back to my dad in the end. Yeah. So they're all crafted. My dad, I always like to think I'm playing it like a live version of what Dad would do, and that's there are key moments that you always stick to, there always will be.
Yep.
But every now and again, you do it like he would do live, where he would go off on and play, never the same twice.
I suppose that'd be one of the hard things for you too, though, mate. Like, as you say, there's a lot of different versions of Led Zeppelin songs out there, and I suppose the public have got their favourites. They're the ones that have had the most views and stuff like that. But you being involved in the inner circle, like, you'd have your own personal favourites that might differ somewhat, I guess, to the public favourites. So how do you go with that? Like, would you prefer to play your favourite version of it or the more popular one?
I like to think we do. I like to think my favourite version are the popular ones. That's how I like to look at it. I don't know. We never disappoint, I don't think. I think, if anything, the ones where people always wanted it to sound a little bit more like the album, I think, if anything, that was one thing that I always liked to do. Mm-hmm. Because we have the keyboard player that plays guitar as well, we can create something a little bit more where live Zeppelin never had another guitar player. So there's certain things which are going to be different, but that's when it goes more into the studio.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I think I was just very fortunate to be able to put it in those situations and go, does it sound better with another guitar, more like the studio version here, or should we make it more live and take it off? And on certain songs we do that. We just leave it as it, as they played it live. Other songs, there's the keys involved and having a bass player as well. we're very fortunate because in a live situation, it's more like the studio and it's a keyboard song. So, yeah, as I said, I'm really happy with the way we've been doing this. As I said, I wouldn't still be doing it if I didn't think we did it, any justice or showed any kind of, I always say, if we can do it as best to our ability, and people get off on the fact that, the way it is, I wouldn't let them down. I wouldn't be playing it if I didn't think it represented the family enough.
So I think one of the most understated things about Led Zeppelin's music was the actual feel of it, as much as the music itself, and a lot of that feel sort of came from the world that the band was living in when they wrote it, I guess. So how difficult is it for you to recreate that feel and that atmosphere like so many years later?
I mean, that's the one thing that you'll never be able to, when as close as anyone can get to playing the music. I would say, they're still not the people. They're still, it doesn't matter. You can have it note for note perfect. You can have it fill for fill perfect. You can be the same guy. That's what makes every band special. Is the unique feel. It starts from, whether it's the drummer and the bass player, their relationship with each other in the way they play with each other. One might be dragging, the other one might be pulling, the other one might be the pocket guy, the guitar player could be pulling you along, the singer sings in his part. And then you've got, as you say, the time. For them, the 70s, the late 60s and 70s, a very different time indeed. Lots of different hallucinogenics and amongst other things that were being taken and played, and the way they played the music. So, of course, we try our damn hardest to put you in that mood. And in most of the places in America, for some reason, I don't know how it gets allowed, but we'll start a certain song, and there's a certain smell in the air, and I'm amazed. We could be playing outdoors, and I could still be getting high from the audience. And I'm going, hold on, this is an outdoor venue. How can this be happening? So, yeah, to put it this way, the audience help themselves to getting into that state of mind.
Yeah, well put, mate. So along those lines too, bro, like people connected with Led Zeppelin's music for many different reasons. So like as you travel around the world playing at different crowds, mate, like do you find different crowds in different countries can sort of influence your own personal enjoyment of it because they're seeing it from different perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things I love when I do the show is one of the nicest things to see a grandparent with their son and their granddaughter or grandson. You have three generations.
Wow.
And you'll have the grandfather saw Zeppelin, and then you got the son was so into Zeppelin, because of his dad, but never got to see them, that he passed it on to his kid, who wasn't even born, 20 years after my dad had been dead,
Wow.
So that is mind-blowing. That is just blows my mind when I see the generations that come to the shows and the young people that come. We play in a college town in Boston a lot. And that show is probably the youngest crowd we ever played to. We'll do a sellout, 2,500 people, and they're just college kids.
Wow.
We'll play another venue, and you'll range, more into my age group with the people in their 50s and older. So, as I said, it's a music it's not defined by the era it was from. It's just the people who love it, and they can be any age they want to be. You don't have to be a certain age to be accepted. I still love the fact when I see a kid wearing a Zeppelin shirt, and I'm thinking, do you have any idea what that band is? And if they answer yes, and if they can answer one question about them, that's even more mind blowing. It's not just a fashion item.
Yeah, wow. So we'll go back in time a bit here, mate, and like focus on you for a little bit, bro. So like you were playing drums skillfully by the age of 5 years old, mate. So like, did your dad lock you in a cupboard armed with only a pair of drumsticks for 12 hours a day or something? Like 5 years old is pretty young to be proficient.
Yeah. I wish I actually remembered. I don't ever remember like the hardship of learning an instrument. So I just remember I could play. I don't remember him sitting me down and showing me what to do. So I think a lot of the work, he would put on a jukebox, he'd put a song on the jukebox, and he'd go play to that. And he would just get harder songs for me to play to. And until I hicked up, couldn't play it, then he would possibly show me what to do. But most of the time, I was left to play from the jukebox. And bearing in mind, there was at 11 years old, at 10 years old, I got highly distracted by dirt bikes and became very successful racing dirt bikes in England and was a sponsored rider. So now there was like another avenue for me to let steam off, which was nobody rode dirt bikes in my family. I didn't have to compete with anybody like on any level. So for that, I just really excelled at being just, and Dad, he enjoyed it as much as it made him nervous. He loved the fact that I was pretty, I was number two in England for a couple of years in a row. So yeah, and I still love it, and I'm still passionate about motocross and supercross. Still follow. I know all the Aussies. You guys have an amazing two guys here in the US. They're from the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And they're called the Lawrence brothers, Jet and Hunter Lawrence, and they are amazing talents. And they are coached by one of my old heroes, called Johnny O'Mara.
Oh, cool.
So I'm a motocross nerd. You'll have to excuse me.
That's fine, brother. Nothing wrong with liking motorcycles at all.
Yeah.
So I know, like when you're playing in the Led Zeppelin evening, like I know you've got to play like your dad on drums, I guess. But with your natural drumming style, like did you naturally take his mannerisms and take things like that on, or have you got sort of a bit of a different style of your own?
I've probably got. I think like my dad has some styles that influenced him. I think you put me. I love Phil Collins. I love this Neil Peart stuff that somebody wrote down once all the chops that I'd stolen. and I'm going, I wish it would have been a longer list, but it wasn't that long a list. But there was, I'm really glad because they reminded me of all the people that I'd listened to over the years. So when I play my own stuff, say if I do something with Black Country Communion and I'm recording with them, or when I'm with the Circle, I can hear all the different people that made me how I play.
Wow.
So, whereas when I'm doing the Led Zeppelin evening, it's basically John Bonham chops in that show. So when I do my own thing, I get to do my Keith Moons, my Stuart Copelands, my Phil Collins, how I describe them anyway. Some people go, you shouldn't ever knock yourself for doing it that way. I said, no, I'm just honest. That's when I do a certain thing. That's I know where that's from. That's a so-and-so, and that's a so-and-so. So I'm just very easy going with it and more honest to say where it came from. So I just guess, when I'm playing my own thing, I'm a collection from all those different people that I grew up listening to. I can tell them a thing, but my buddy goes, no, you know what that is? That's Jason Bonham. That's the style of Jason Bonham, because Phil Collins doesn't do all those other people when he plays, and when so-and-so plays, he doesn't do. So I guess it just made me me.
Cool. So tell me, man, like growing up, like, did you ever feel pressure, I guess, or expectation to be a drummer in a rock and roll band because of your heritage, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it was more of when, because I was so young when my dad passed away. It was at 14. I carried on riding the bikes for a little bit, and then made a decision to suddenly go, okay, I'm going to do this. This is, I'm going to do this for my dad, and I'm going to play drums, and I'm going to play rock and roll, and all of that business. So I think that's when I suddenly went, I want to do this for a living. But that wasn't until when I was 17. And I remember the first gig I ever got, the drum tech, who was actually the old drummer in the band, said to me, "Not very good, are you?" and I went, "What's that supposed to mean?" He goes, "Well, if you're going to be John Bonham's son, you need to get a little bit better with your chops." He goes, "Because you might have been a great 10-year-old drummer, but then you might have been a fantastic 12-year-old drummer, but you're a kind of an average 17-year-old drummer." And this guy put me under his wing, and he really helped me. And I suddenly realized when I started to play with, in the band situation, there was no jukebox anymore to keep me dialed in, and there was no. So yeah, I suddenly had to hone down, and it was a real eye opener. And I really had to get better and learn, and that was great. I was appreciative of it, because from 17 we were touring with bands like Queen and AC/DC, and I had this first band I had, and it was right. I needed to pay some dues really first. I needed to go and, I'd taken a big kind of a break from 11. The bikes really did take away 5 years, I guess, of the 6 years of my drumming. So, it was one of those things.
And like you've done so much musically with your life, bro, but like it's mind blowing to know what you've done, bro. But one of the things is you performed with the remaining members of Led Zeppelin live, mate. So can you recall how you felt the very first time you stand on stage with those guys in a live setting?
Yeah. I mean, I've grown up with them, so I got to play them on a few times, but nothing was more like the last time when we got together for the O2, and the 6-week build up to it was so special. The whole hanging out and being with them on a day-to-day basis for 6 weeks. Weekends off I'd spend down in back at my house in the Midlands, and usually Robert would be around and we would hang out. And that was just being close to them was a very big thing at that time for me. Was even more mind blowing than just playing the music. To be with them, to go out with them, to talk to them about music, life, everything. I'd only ever done that. Most of the time I'd ever done that I was a kid, or was in my late youth, which was my very, very early 20s, where I was still acting like a child and getting to play with Jimmy Page and on tour and private planes and credit cards that didn't seem to have a limit and being stupid. But I managed to live and get and I'm 22 years sober. So I went through a lot of it in a blink of an eye and suddenly forgot really what it was all about. And I remember getting to 33 years old, which was a year older than my dad. And then I gave up drinking and partying and doing drugs and stuff. So it was, I had to get past his age of what he died mentally. And then I kind of reinvented my life and been able to do it all and have fun and go back and do it all again, but this time remember it all, travel to all these wonderful places, sober. So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. And this might be a bit of a personal question, bro, so don't answer it if you don't want, but like you're of course you're your own harshest critic in this world, bro. So by your standards, do you think your dad would be proud of what you're doing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, without a shadow.
Yeah.
But I always say, because I don't ever look at it. I wouldn't be doing the Zeppelin thing if he was alive. So, and if I look at everything else I'm doing, yes, I would love to play him what I did with Black Country Communion and what I've done with the Circle and all the other projects I've got to play with, from Jeff Beck and Paul Rogers and et cetera. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah,
I think he'd be, and he'd definitely be proud of the fact that I'm driving this Corvette to a racetrack right now. I think he would be in another car ahead of me, which would be faster than mine. I know he would.
Oh, that's beautiful, mate. Okay, yeah, so we'll finish up this one then, bro. Like, I know people are naturally sceptical of watching tribute bands, mate. So what would you say to people here in Australia, or I guess anywhere around the world, who are a bit on the fence about going out because they consider it just another tribute band?
Well, not many tribute bands that actually have a person that played with the original members in a different form and get a Grammy from it. So if there are a few bands out there that can do that, then all good to them. Mm-hmm. But we have one, I would say, I don't like using the one ace up my sleeve. We are slightly different for that fact that I have actually played with them, performed on several occasions. I've been part of the whole thing, kind of family for years. And if you love Led Zeppelin, if you can get past the idea, like it was hard for me to get past the idea of what we're doing, but just come open-minded. Everyone that ever had a doubt has always said to me and wrote to me and said, until I saw the show, when I saw it on paper, I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. When I saw the show, oh my God, I get it. Mm-hmm. And that's all I said. And I said, what do you get? He goes, that's it. I get it. You get the feeling of when you leave there, you feel it's like you've been on a journey and you're connected with the band. And I said, then you get it. You did get it, because that's what I try and do. If we can transform you back and you suddenly feel just an emotion of just fun, of just carefree, then we did our job. We just made you not think about what you're doing tomorrow for a couple of hours.
Beautiful, mate. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Jason. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate, and I'll be at the Brisbane show, so hopefully we'll catch up with you there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No worries, brother. Enjoy your race car drive, mate, and put on your seatbelt.